a lot of people misunderstand the concept of dimensions needs to be discussed. And while this is definitely not a topic that I had planned for tonight, I've been getting this question enough now that we absolutely have to talk about it. It seems that everyone right now really wants to know, what about all the different timelines? What is happening with all the timelines in World of Warcraft? I've had people message me, straight up saying they think the reason that the Shadowlands broke is because there's two versions of Gul'dan, or there's two versions of X, Y, or Z. Now, there's a number of things that we can look at first and foremost here, and sort of ask ourselves if there would even be two versions of anyone in a specific realm. Not only that, but so for example, when Garrosh went back, right, to alternative Draenor, to an alternative timeline of Draenor, Gul'dan had, I mean, at that point, I don't think there would have been any reason for him to know if he would meet someone else or if he would meet another Garrosh. There's another question that we probably need to ask there, and that's something that we look more towards real life, right? So we look at a real life explanation of this, and we can say, based on theory right now, IRL, if we were ever to discover time travel or discover the ability to visit different dimensions, you would almost always, if you were to go back to a timeline where you would exist in that timeline, there is every reason to believe that the version of you that exists within that timeline would either cease to exist or you would cease to exist, right? So there's like a whole slew of issues when it comes to time travel. Now, what do I believe World of Warcraft's solvent for this is? What's the solution to this problem? Now, I thought about this a long time, and I tried to come up with different solutions that keeps the timelines in check. But ultimately, as far as I can tell, when I read about how the Titans function within the timeline, so the Titans are above the timelines. The Titans can exist in any of the timelines at the same time, or all of them at once. Right, this is something that you'll learn. I believe it's in Chronicles where they kind of speak about the timelines as it relates to the Titans. It may have been in Legion also. I think there was alluded to that the Titans themselves are not really bound to a specific timeline. But the only logical explanation for the timelines and multiple versions of the timelines, as far as I'm concerned, is that World of Warcraft does possess a singular timeline. There is only one real timeline within World of Warcraft. All the other timelines may in fact be, well, what if they were never intended? What if the multiple timelines that we find in World of Warcraft was never intended? That was not the natural state of the world that was designed. So the world was never designed to have multiple timelines, but because everyone tries to, shall we say, increase their own power levels, people started fucking around with the timelines, started to create multiple timelines where only one was ever truly meant to exist. So there is one true timeline, which means that all other souls that die in different timelines to the one that is the real timeline, those souls simply cease to exist. Those souls simply cease to exist. The Arbiter, either those souls don't even go to the Arbiter, or, and this is something that Blizzard actually gave us some evidence for, when Blizzard spoke about the Arbiter right back, if you guys remember, all the way back at BlizzCon. Blizzard did actually speak about the Arbiter and the role of the Arbiter within the Shadowlands. And they sort of gave us a bit of a breakdown of what the Arbiter does and how the Arbiter judges souls.
It's like what happens to us after we die. In Azeroth or other worlds of Warcraft, anyway. So, when death comes, a soul crosses between life and death. Spirit Healer makes that determination, and a winged bearer comes to bring the soul into the Shadowlands. And souls come before a mysterious entity, an ancient entity, known only as the Arbiter. The Arbiter, since time immemorial, has functioned in this capacity. And when that soul comes before her, in a fraction of a second, every one of the contents of that soul is laid bare before her. All the deeds, the misdeeds, the thoughts, the aspirations, the triumphs, and the failures are felt, absorbed, and understood by the Arbiter. And the Arbiter sends that soul off to a destination realm, to one of the infinite realms of the Shadowlands, each one of which is ruled over by a powerful covenant.
So the Arbiter looks at a soul, looks at how you lived your life, and then within seconds decides where to place you. Or to simply disintegrate you. So the Arbiter does have the ability to completely disintegrate a soul, to simply make that soul once again part of the natural building blocks of the world. So not all souls, at least according to Blizzard, is sent to one of the zones of the Shadowlands. Some of those souls are just completely erased for all eternity. They're split. I believe they say the Arbiter can split your soul among all the different dimensions. Something to that effect. So perhaps that function of the Arbiter, at least in how I believe the Arbiter was built, I don't think the Arbiter is a natural occurrence, just FYI. I don't think that the Arbiter was designed as naturally as the Titans were, or even as the Eternal Ones were, if you will. I think the Arbiter was designed to achieve a very specific goal, and part of her programming was to stop the duplication process of souls. In other words, if a soul is split, if there is two of a specific soul, the second one will be deleted, will be removed, so as to never have that problem where now you have multiples of a single soul inside the Shadowlands. So that really is, as far as I'm concerned, the reason why you will never see dual souls within the Shadowlands is because there is no multiple timelines within the Shadowlands. The Shadowlands is, or there's no, yeah, the Shadowlands does not exist in the multiple timeline universe. That is an Azeroth specific problem, is the multiple timeline universe. I hope that answers the question of double souls, because I know this is something that a lot of people worry about and a lot of people fucking ask about. So I hope that answers the question, at least my opinion on what that question would be, or what the answer to that question would be. Of course, you're welcome to disagree with me. You're welcome to tell me, dude, that's not true. That's not what happens. I'd love to see what you guys think of it. But yeah, from my perspective, I don't think double souls can exist, because the Shadowlands itself, if this is Azeroth, right? Let's say this is the Great Beyond, right? So we have the Great Beyond here. Inside the Great Beyond, you have multiple timelines, right? All of them existing simultaneously within the Great Beyond. Above the Great Beyond is the Shadowlands. And within the Shadowlands, there is no existence of multiple timelines. The multiple timelines is restricted to the existence of the Great Beyond. Therefore, when the Shadowlands looks at the Great Beyond, it sees only the true timeline. It does not pay attention to the other branches of the timeline. The other branches does not matter to it in the greater scheme of things. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that answers the question. I know it was a pretty long answer to that question, but hopefully that answers the question.